types of elephants are there? Phelan, sorry. Well, in Africa, you have the savanna elephants, which are the ones we're looking at here, and also the same ones that Noel was looking at. There's small differences, often in size and tusks and things like that, just depending on the area that they're in. And then you have the African forest elephant, which is now considered to probably be a different species. It used to be considered to be a subspecies, but and then you have the Asiatic elephant. So without getting into the nitty-gritty of subspecies, because that just causes fights, there are three known species of elephant: the savanna elephant, the African forest elephant, and the Asiatic elephant. Now I'm going to have to move, because if Adrian goes a little bit off to the right, you'll see there's this dark wall of water that is moving directly towards us at the moment. There we go, you can start to see. There we go, that dark sky. Now, Taylor, who's probably sitting in lovely sunshine, not too far from us, but also might be in the risk of rain, is still at the hyena den.
There ain't no sunshine. There's no sunshine with us, Brent. I'm seeing the dark clouds coming towards us too, and you've made me nervous by mentioning the words R-A-I-N. I'm scared of the rain. You can see it at the back there, but I think it's still got a little bit of a way to go. Now, things are up and down on the hyena clan at the moment. Sometimes they're awake, sometimes they're asleep. But what I thought we could do while we sit and wait for them is there's a little hyena, a youngster, and it's just laying out. Now, we always see hyena tracks on the ground. We see their footprints, but it's not often that we get to take a look at the underside of their feet. So I thought that it would be a good opportunity to have a look at what a hyena's foot actually looks like. So you can see there are the two front paws, and we know that their claws show in their tracks, so they've constantly got their claws out. They can't retract them at all. And you can see they're quite blunt, almost like your dog's claws at home, especially if it's a dog, not an indoor dog, but an outdoor dog that's tearing its claws up on the various types of terrain. So they're kind of like studs, and cheetahs will be similar to that too, but then that's where it stops. And with the hyenas, you can see they've only got two lobes on their back pad and very bean-shaped toes that we always talk about, but now you can actually see them, which I thought was something quite nice. So there we go. You can see the four toes and the padding at the back, and then the claws, which is quite nice. It's a very cute scene. Now, they would have been resting for most of the day, I'd imagine, or I suppose these youngsters would also been up and trying to work out what's going on here. At the moment, we can just see two females. There is a third one that's been hiding about. And more females, sorry. So I'm sure there's a few more females around. They might just be scattered up. But we'll stay with this clan for as long as the rain allows us to, and hopefully they start waking up and fighting. However, I think we're going back down to Steve now, and I think he's got a decent view of Thandi's cub.
And we're still here with Thandi and her cub. The cub is busy nursing. Thandi has just turned around after scratching and cleaning her paws, her claws on the tree, Tambuti tree. And the cub has come back after playing a little bit with Mum. Now it looks like it's hard to really see from this angle, but there's the little ears. Here's the small head. And this is amazing stuff, folks. To see baby leopards like this in the wild is really, really quite something to see. Wildebeest and I are absolutely loving what we're seeing. There's another vehicle joining us here. I hope they don't make too much noise. At the moment the cub seems quite relaxed. But he is coming in very slowly, very quietly, which is very nice. I'm sure everybody at home is taking their screenshots, jumping up and down with joy at the sight of this beautiful little cub. There we go. You can see the cub is responding to some noises. But still back to Mum's nipple. Mum is quite relaxed. Lovely dapple light there. I believe a lot of the viewers are loving this, so am I. What is there to ask in situations like this but just to enjoy? Just to enjoy. I don't think I've ever seen a 3-month-old cub before in the wild. Rashni asks about the fact that Thandi's bringing kills to the den side. I think it's very strange. The cub doesn't need the meat, it's relying on Mum to suckle. And I think I kind of answered this before. By bringing the meat to the den site, you're actually posing the risk of attracting hyenas, lions, other leopards even. And even if a male leopard came into the area who wasn't the father, who knows what he would do to a small cub like this. You don't want to really think about it, but it's part of nature. And there's a behavior that I believe Tristan spoke about the other day that's quite bizarre. I mean, I know after 6 months or so they'll start taking the cubs to kills that they've stashed in trees. But to actually bring it here is quite strange. Maybe she was here with the cub and she just killed an impala right nearby. Very hard to say. No one saw it. But it is quite strange behavior from my opinion. Not sure what James has to say about that. Look at those beautiful blue eyes. Oh, a little bit of a fright. That was just one of the vehicles making a bit of a bang on a tree. You see how it caused the cub to move away as Thandi's behavior changed. But Thandi's actually looking towards us where there's some birds here in the long grass. Some of the viewers are saying the cub is only 2 months. I believe it will be 3 months by the end of this month. I think. Wildebeest, your opinion? Tristan made it very clear to me the other day that the cub was 3 months old from the day that they saw it first. So I haven't been around long enough to have much of an argument in this debate. But some birds chattering in the tree there. Alarm calls. I'm not quite sure what they are. But if I was a bird and I saw a rather large female leopard below me, I'd also cackle a bit. And that's what caused her to sit up. So a stealthy predator generally responds to alarm calls in a way of either sleeking away or acting very nonchalantly of she doesn't really care. Sounds like some wood hoopers, but I'm not 100% sure. Can you see them, V? Wood hoopers, hey? Known by the Zulus as Hlagabafazi. When they do their characteristic calls, they sound like a bunch of cackling women, the Zulu woman. They are quite a beautiful bird. Cooperative breeders, there we go, you can see one. The long tail. So folks, we are going to stay here. The wildebeest and myself are not going anywhere, so don't worry, we'll keep you up to date on whatever action happens to pass by here. But while we do that, we're going to go back to Taylor, who's got some very cute hyenas.
We do, and I also think that they are very cute. A lot of people may disagree with us because, shame, these poor animals have got the worst reputation. Now, that young cub that is rubbing up on that adult, it's not its mother. There's mom's 2 little ones that are suckling, and those 2 youngsters were having a squabble at some point. I think it just wants someone to play with for the moment. Now, because I don't know this clan very well, I'm not sure if the matriarch of the clan is collared, but we have seen quite a few of them with collars on. You know, I'll have to ask. I'll have to ask Emily. She's one of the hyena researchers in the Triangle. Perhaps I can go and have my coffee at Serena and we can chat about these beautiful animals. That sounds like a great idea. I'm sure you'd all love to join me too. Now, she's actually been quite tolerant of that young cub. Normally they're not particularly interested, but I suppose it's just going around and sniffing about, not being too intrusive. Otherwise, I'm sure it would get a stern talking to. Maybe this is the boss. Maybe this young cub belongs to one of the higher ranking females and can just do what it wants. But these two look of similar age. There's 3 of them that look very similar. Now, Deadhead Tom, you're wondering if it was something else that perhaps dug out this den? Definitely so. It could have been warthogs. It could have been porcupine. It could have been a number of different animals. You might find that this den is exceptionally old as well. It looks like it's been well used, and there's quite a few of them scattered around here. So it could be, like I said, it could be a number of different animals that could be have utilized it over the last few years and just changed it slightly to suit their needs. We saw the claws on the hyenas, and they are fairly good diggers too. And so if they need to widen anything, they'll just go ahead and do that. Now this little one is creeping out of its burrow. I think everyone's wanting to play now. Oh, you are so cute. You might even actually be able to hear the 2 at the back constantly having arguments. Those 2 very young ones. And it's quite common amongst hyena siblings. Unfortunately, that girl's only got 2 mammary glands. And they'll be fighting over it. They've gone a bit quiet now. As soon as they start making that squealing, wailing noise, I'll let you know again. But the wind is picking up, so it could be quite difficult. So these 2 keep battling for essentially the best teat and the one that's producing the most milk at the time. And they get quite rough with one another. I think you've had some great sightings with Rolf, where, oh, sweet, they're playing. But no, they're not playing. They're exceptionally aggressive with one another from such a young age. Normally you don't see so much aggression with young animals. I mean, if you look at lions and leopards when they play, or cheetah siblings when they play, not that I've seen that very often, with the cheetah, of course, but it's normally quite playful. Here, it's teeth and claws and shaking heads, and that instinct is just ingrained in them that they have to fight for in the hierarchy essentially, and try and top the other. Now, I didn't quite hear what Brent has got in the darkness, just in the distance. Sorry, I wasn't concentrating. He caught me off guard. But let's jump on board with him and see what he's got to show you.
Well, looks like we're going to have an elephant afternoon right at the beginning of the safari, and it is. Now, hiding behind that young elephant there is a tiny, tiny little baby between Mom's legs, and I'm just hoping it pops out again. It was nursing. Actually, let's try and move a little bit forward to see. Oh, and she's moving. Sorry. There we go, to the back. There we go. Look how small it is. Sweetness. Must be quite frustrating being that height and getting all the grass seeds in your eyes as you walk through the grass. Now, we must have been close on 100, just over 100 elephants down on the marsh. And now as we're moving further away from the marsh, we're actually finding more elephants. Probably another about 50 or so in this area around us here. There's the little one. And there's an absolutely massive group, probably another 50 or 60 up ahead of us. So I think quite comfortably we're going to see over 200 elephants this afternoon in a very small area between the Samaki swamp and the Shini forest. So it's incredible. They all seem to be really loving the grasses in this area, and they're very lush. The Shini, a lot of the little rivers like the Shini that come off the escarpment end up dumping all the water and topsoil and nutrients in this area. So that's why there's elephants are here at the moment, and the grass is still very green. Oh, is he going for a little lie down? He's having a snooze. There you go, little lie down. Tired, Ellie? Okay, well, I want to get up a bit further ahead to where that other big group of elephants are. But there's, as I said, there's another whole bunch here, probably about 30 or 40 in this area here. And then you can see that dark storm coming away. I'm hoping it blows a bit further to the west and leaves us alone. Mario is wondering if I've ever seen elephants in the Knysna forest. Now, Mario, the Knysna forest elephants are a bit of a story. They actually are not forest elephants at all. They are savanna elephants. And the Knysna forest actually doesn't hold that much food for elephants. And the reason those elephants retreated into the forest was because of persecution of humans. They would have seasonally gone into parts of the forest to feed off certain things, but it is unlikely that there would have ever been any permanently residing elephants in the Knysna forest if people hadn't have pushed them into that last sort of area where they could hide from persecution. Now, I'm going to keep moving. As I said, there's another massive herd of elephants up ahead, so I'm going to see if I can get into the middle of them. While we do that, let's go back to the gorgeous Thandi and cub all the way back in South Africa.
And we just keep getting better and better position, folks. We're taking our time, and we've now moved a little bit further forward. We've gotten this really nice gap. The cub's just moved off temporarily. As one of the other vehicles left a moment ago, it just moved back a bit, and I think it'll come back soon, though. She's quite enjoying the shade. She's a little bit elevated there. She's got a little bit of a look down into this drainage line. But you see the typical ears are flat. It's a little bit of a grumpy cat, this one. My experience of leopards, when you see ears flat like that, is indicating that she's not 100% relaxed. But as everybody tells me, this is kind of her nature and her behavior. Look at those eyes. She's very alert. Oh, hang on a second. Look directly behind her. Can you see there's a nyala just up and to the right? The nyala's looking directly at her. You can't see it in the frame. It's looking directly at her, and she has no idea that it's there. How many leopards are estimated, Mikkel? There we go. You can see the nyala through the trees. The nyala can smell her. There we go. She's now looking. That is a big animal for a female leopard, though. Watch her behavior, see how she starts to shift. But the nyala has got visual of it. You can see the leopard. Keep a certain distance. The leopard needs to get to a certain stalking distance for it to be effective. But I don't know if I think that nyala's too big for her. Doesn't mean she wouldn't try to chase it. But for her to subdue a nyala bull, probably weighs almost twice her weight, would be very, very difficult to do. Big male nyala. So while we wait to see if anything happens here, Mikhail asks how many leopards I believe are in the area. I think there's reported probably about 7 that we could find on the Djuma property. Is that right, for the best? But then I think there's probably about 9 or 10 that move in and out. They're not as static as people might think. They're quite fluid in their movements, and the boundaries seem to be moving. There's quite a few juveniles and quite a few males moving around that don't have any sort of particular home range or territory, so to speak. But I'm quite new to the area, and I'm trying to gather my thoughts and all the leopard interaction. And this is the wildebeest is saying probably about 9. But where they all are is very hard to say. This is prime leopard country. And you see how she's kind of acting very sort of nonchalant towards the nyala. The nyala is still watching her intently. As a prey animal, you never want to turn your back on a leopard. As soon as the nyala runs, it will invoke it to chase, even if it's impossible for her to pull down. It'll still cause her to chase. You can see her ears are moving from side to side. She's not focused on the nyala. She's probably looking at him with semi-closed eyes, pretending to be asleep, showing the nyala that she's not a threat. But he's not moving off. H. Macy says that's super close. Yes, it is. That Nyala looks like it's probably about 10, 12 feet away from the leopard. That's a perfect stalking distance or charging distance, but that would only really work if the leopard wasn't seen. But the Nyala was walking directly towards her, it seems, and then just stopped and stared at her. Don't know if you can still get her in the shot, or him in the shot. Doesn't seem to have moved off, but from my position, I'm a little bit more further forward than the camera. I can just see him, the white stripes between the eyes as he stares at her, letting her know, I can see you, don't dare come for me. This is so much fun. So you can see the intention of the cat. Its ears are sideways. It's not, if it was interested in the Nyala, it would have turned. It would be all 4 feet facing forward. The head would be quite low to the ground. But she's probably pretending to be sleeping, which is typical of predators when they've been spotted. Oh, he's still there. So folks, we're going to stay here and see what unfolds, but in the meantime, I believe Taylor is in the Masai Mara with some very playful hyena.
Yes, we are with some very playful hyena and a very ominous sky. Now, they've found themselves a little wildebeest horn that they've dug up. Well, I think they had it down in the burrow. Look at them. Scrapping over it. They're fighting over the horn at the moment, the chew toy. And I'm pretty sure one of these young cubs is from a high-ranking female, just because of its attitude. It literally walks around like it owns the place, and it is challenging all the other hyena cubs and biting them, and it's very rough. We obviously, and for those of you who've grown up with kittens and puppies, you know that they like to bite and scratch you, and of course it's all just got to do with their playful nature and their natural instinct. But when a hyena grabs another hyena, even at this age, they don't let go, and they are born with a set of teeth, so they're very, very sharp, and they shake it around as if they were trying to tear into something. Oh, that one's got sweet ears. That one looks at the back, looks a little bit dopey. Now, I don't know how this lot are not getting into trouble by this female, because they're bothering those youngsters. You can see there's two much younger cubs trying to suckle there, and the hyenas don't allo suckle. They kind of just keep to themselves, and it'll be one female with her little ones. There you go, she's reprimanding that one, saying go away. And the other adults will come back, so don't worry. I might just be off laying about. They typically scatter themselves around the den site and rest during the day. I haven't seen any more coming through. I've only seen the 3 adults here, and I think I counted 9 or 10 cubs. I don't know, there could be some more even younger ones down in those these little burrows too. And then the hyena that's closest to us, the adult, there is actually a tiny little cub just between her feet. It's so small she's still having to pick it up to move it. And they're all playing around. It's a very, very nice scene. And for anybody that hasn't seen hyenas, this is such a great den because it's out in the open. Now, Aaron, you're wondering if there's much difference between spotted and striped hyenas. I've never seen a striped hyena in my entire life, sadly. I've seen brown hyena, lots of brown hyena down in the Eastern Cape of South Africa. And I would very much like to see a striped hyena. Spotted hyena are larger. I'm actually not sure of the weight of a striped hyena, but I can have a look at my mammals book in a minute for you. And then we'll have a look. But they're the smaller of the species. Even the brown hyena is bigger than the striped, and I don't know if they would occur up here. I don't think so. I remember Brent was talking the other day about hyenas, about striped hyenas. Right, let's see if it quickly mentions striped hyenas can weigh up to, not very much at all, about 45, maximum 45 kilograms. Whereas, of course, a spotted hyena, they can get up to about between 80 and 85 kilograms, a big female. So there's a huge difference there in weight. Oh, the lovely golden light. The sun has just managed to break through the clouds, which has presented us with this Lovely sight. And they're all getting active again. All playing with one another. Who took the wildebeest horn? That was a great toy. Look at this one, putting this little one on its bottom. And for such small animals, especially these younger cubs, they are very, very, very fierce. You can see. Not worrying about size, it doesn't matter apparently in this clan. Who's just got the strongest teeth and who can bite the most and chase each other around. It's interesting sitting watching and learning from these hyenas. Right, but we're going to have to start heading back. I can see this massive rainstorm, which is probably going to slow us down to getting home. So we might say goodbye to the hyena, but we'll come back here in the morning. Brent, however, has got a rather large elephant, and I hope it isn't giving him any trouble.
No trouble whatsoever. The only thing that is troubling me, and you might hear the splatter of quite large raindrops hitting our roof. There we go, a lovely big elephant bull behind the breeding herds. Now, with the elephant bulls, you will see more broken tusks than in the females, and of course, that's from battling with other elephant bulls for mating rights. Hello, big boy. As I said, there's another good 60 or 70 elephants spread out through this area around where we are at the moment. You can even see some. On that little one, you can see some of the raindrops starting to form. And you see the little spots, the little dark spots on him. Those are those big raindrops that I was talking about. I was hoping it was going to push a little bit further to the west and miss us. But I don't think we're going to be so lucky. It's quite a weird coloration. It makes me worry a little bit about hail. We do get hail from time to time here. And the temperature has dropped incredibly in the last sort of 5 minutes. It has been a wonderful elephant afternoon. I'm going to get Adrian to pan again just to show you. Keep that frame, Adrian. Just keep going around. You'll see as we go, there's elephants everywhere. Behind, more elephants. And then in the distance there, another big group of elephants. And then as we keep going, elephants, 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 elephants! And then as we keep going, you'll see there's more elephants closer to us as well. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to do the runner to try just get to a spot away from the elephants so I can get out and put the rain covers down, because it is going to start raining very hard shortly. It's okay, little man, don't you get full of nonsense with me. Okay, so while we try to get to a spot away from all the elephants so we can safely get out of the car and drop our rain covers, let's go back to Steve, who's still with Thandi or looking for Thandi, I'm not sure. Good luck!
So she's just moved off, folks. We're now trying to get out of this very interesting position we've managed to find ourselves in. It was fine enough getting in frontways, and now we're going backwards, so might need some repairs on the tyres later. There were some thorns there. Watch your head, Vildi. But just reversing up, she was busy calling the cub last we saw her, and then she moved across and away from us down into the drainage line. So love these little short wheelbase Land Rovers. So while we reposition ourselves and see if we can find a nice little place to see these beautiful cats, I believe Taylor is chasing the storm.
We are storm chasers today. Actually, we're storm avoiders. That's what we are. Storm avoiding. Storm avoiding. I feel like there's a... There you go. Jean-Andre felt the vibe. So we're going to drive back towards the escarpment and then hug the escarpment all the way around. And then I looked and went, no, we're not going to be doing that because of the rain. So my idea is to kind of go towards the river road and hopefully we miss it. Romeo, this question, one of the worst things, not the question, but one of the worst things is, and it's got to do with Romeo's question, how many flies do you swallow in a day? Too many. Although, I'm now going to cover my mouth in case a fly decides to break my running streak. I have not eaten a fly for a few days, Romeo, but I think that could change, especially now that I've jinxed myself. Maybe I eat midges, because those midges are so small, I don't think you'd really notice if you swallowed one of those, so I probably eat a couple of those a day. But at one point in Djuma, I just remember Jamie and I were both spitting off the side of the car like uncivilized ladies, but we had to because it was quite gross. Gendre, however, is also... there's a very funny clip, in fact, of Gendre doing an interview, behind-the-scenes interview, and he had a fly on his lip. You did swallow it, hey? Went in, and Gendre just very casually, still filming, like acted as if nothing had even happened, just went, yeah, and so these cameras are so fantastic, or whatever he was talking about. I can't remember what it was for, but it was so impressive, just so great. Whereas Jamie and I just opt for that, we're just going to spit it out. But yeah, and I'm kind of glad I haven't eaten a fly for quite some time. They're not my favorite. They're not, yeah, it isn't great, unfortunately. But I've almost swallowed butterflies before too, because they sometimes hit the car and then they come flying into your face. And I have a fear about that. So I remember when I was growing up, and we'd go on these school camps. I was young, we call it primary school, so I don't know what camp it was. Maybe I was like 9 years old. And there was this girl, it was very sad, in Uitenhage in the Eastern Cape of South Africa. She swallowed a butterfly and she ended up being allergic to the dust on the butterfly's wing, or the tiny little scales that come off on a butterfly's wings. And it made her, I think essentially she went into anaphylactic shock. Her whole throat swelled up and they couldn't get her to hospital in time. It was very sad and she ended up dying. I have a terrible fear of swallowing a buffalo. I meant to say butterfly. I think if I swallowed a buffalo, I'd most certainly choke. I'm so sorry, little elephant. I was too busy talking about swallowing buffalo. I don't want to swallow a buffalo. I meant to say butterfly. I think I was looking at buffalo in the distance and then I got distracted. And I will prove to you that they're buffalo, but before we leave these elephants. So that elephant obviously trumpeted at me. It wasn't very happy, but it was being a little bit on the dramatic side because now it's gone straight back to eating again. So I couldn't have upset it very much then, but quite typical with these young elephants like this. I'm going to try and keep moving because we're quite far away off the main road. I'm so sorry. Please don't trumpet at me today. Again. Oh. For what? I'm very sorry. Oh, look at Floppy. Look at this elephant very quickly. They're being a bit dramatic, these young elephants. They see cars all the time. Everyone else is relaxed. Shame. Her ears are very, very floppy. As you can see, they look a bit tattered too. Oh no. She can't even shake her head properly. You see, look at Troublemaker now is chasing this one. Being a busybody, and sorry, it was a young boy. Right, Steve is on a roll this afternoon and keeping up with Thandi. Hopefully he'll be able to put the pedal to the metal and be able to see that sweet little Not Francis again.
Yeah, we've come around, folks, to the place we were before, initially in the beginning, where she picked up that impala head and started licking it and semi-feeding on it. It was hard to see. You can tell the vegetation is very, very thick here. We're not going to go further in. This is about as best visual as we can get for the moment. That's all you can see is a spot through the bushes. Impossible to see that if you were walking. But as she picked up the head and moved further in, she was still calling her cub. Been calling her a few times. Maybe he's trying to interest her in some impala head, but I think maybe cub's more interested in her milk. Doesn't like brains on the menu. We don't have the best look at her from here, but she is moving almost to where we saw her just before. So she's playing a nice game with us. I think it's move the Land Rovers around. It's her own form of chess. Can't really see though, can you, Valdi? All I can see is that white tip of the tail. There we go, look at that. The best camouflage ever. You can just see the tip of the tail on bottom right of the screen there. We talk about leopard habitat and the environment for leopard. These drainage lines are ideal places for leopards. Very easy for them to stalk. I mean, she's probably about 30, 40 yards from us right now, and with the naked eye, impossible to see. And wildebeest is on a very, very zoomed-in camera lens there. And that's the only reason you can see it. With my naked eye, all I see from time to time is that little tail flick. And if she was looking at me, I wouldn't see that tail flick. That tail flick is for her cub to follow. So if she was looking at me, it would have been completely invisible. You would walk right past her, and any unsuspecting prey walking through this thick bush here would probably succumb to the fate of that other impala. But we're going to see if we can find another position to get a better look. And while we do so, Noel has found some water.
We're sitting here at Chitwa Dam, and Davi and I were just saying to each other how beautiful the light is right now and how stunning the dam looks. We've got some really great bird activity that's just here on the sideline. So we have some white-faced whistling ducks. One is keeping a lookout while the other one does a little bit of filter feeding. And then just to the right of them, we had a water thickney, that tall one there, and then what looks like some common sandpipers. From what I can see, there should be a sort of little bit of white that pulls up onto the shoulder there, and that supercilium's quite white as well. This has been a warmer afternoon than we've had in the past few days, so there will be more bird activity, as you can see. I can hear bee eaters, but I can't quite see them at... Oh, Davi, can you see them? Just above the dam, all of these birds that are flitting about are the bee eaters. I don't know if we're going to be able to get them on camera. We'll have to maybe wait and see. As I say that, of course, they've meandered off. But the white-fronted, or it sounded like white-fronted bee eaters, or European, they were very quick pass, most likely European, are catching on the wing there. And so things like butterflies that are out, and daytime moths. Oh, and then Dobby, just underneath this dead log here, there's a beautiful visual of that green-backed heron. Yo, look at that light, hey? Also doing a little bit of fishing, hopefully. We checked behind the dam wall just now. We were looking for that snipe. We found a heron. We were also trying to see if we could pick up on either Hassana or Tamba. I ran into one of the trackers from Chitwa earlier, and he had some leopard tracks, but he's thinking that they moved over a net's boundary, and he was saying it's either Tamba or Hassana. Dutchie, you're curious to know if there's any hammerkorps here. I haven't seen any yet today. We passed by a couple of big hammerkorps nests earlier, but I haven't physically seen the bird itself. Oh, the bee eaters are back now, just flying over at our 2:30, 3 o'clock. There we go. Oh, thanks, Dobby. And then, of course, he goes behind the tree. Sorry, my friend. I've had the experience that when it's been cold like it has, and then it warms up like it does now, these small thermals that are coming up off the water, the bee eaters really enjoy. I'm going to stay quiet for a little bit and see if we can maybe hear any of the bird calls in the background. We've got a nice hippo gaping at the far end of the dam. Not sure if we picked up anything. I don't think anything's calling close enough to us. Scarlett, you'd like to know how deep the water is, if I know how deep the water is. Scarlett, as far as I'm aware, where that hippo is here, where it's lying right there, that is going to be about sort of my high waist up to possibly my shoulder. I'm 5'9". I'm about 172 centimeters, if that helps. When you go farther out into this area here, that's going to be, there'll be like a little island around there, and then it's going to taper off and be much deeper, so way above my head. Maybe, let's call it 2 to 3 meters would be my guess. And then as you come closer, obviously, to the bank there, it's going to start being more shallow. And that's why we see the hippos here, and then they come along to the bank over on this side, and then around the side of the dam, and then to here, and then coming around to the little island. And then if we move to our left, then they'll also come down. Ooh, sorry, now I don't know where to move my hand. There we go. Also go to there. I have a little bit of dyslexia, so sometimes my brain and where my hands and my thoughts need to move are not in coordination with each other. All right, so I think what we might do is we might move over to the far side of the dam, because there's a beautiful heron that's over there. So Francis from Israel, you're asking if we've seen the hatchlings. Francis from Israel, I have not seen those hatchlings in a really long time. They're possibly on the other side of the dam that we can't access. Now, that greater heron is over there, but the visual's not good, so I think what we'll do is we'll physically take ourselves there and hope he stays put. Maybe we'll take a nice look at those impala as well, and maybe we get a little bit more of a close-up on the hippos that are over there. Our hippos are being silly this side. Ooh, sorry, and there's a bump. All right. I'm also super surprised that no elephants have come down this way, but that's okay. I'm sure we'll find them when they're ready to be seen. I did hear that while I'm busy repositioning, I am going to send you to someone. I don't know who I'm sending you to, but it'll obviously be someone from Safari Live. So maybe Brent, maybe I think Taylor is out, and maybe Steve. I've been just having a little bit of issues with my earpiece today, so sorry about that. So let's head on over to them, and we'll see you all shortly.
Hello, welcome back to the manual windscreen wiping festival. So we're getting into the thick of the storm now. We managed to just get our covers down on time. You can see my jacket got a bit wet, but the main body of the storm is about to hit us. It's coming around the corner. I'm just trying to make sure I can see properly. There we go. If it doesn't work out here, I've always got a job as a windscreen wiper. I can, for those of you who are from South Africa, at the traffic lights, there are guys who stand there with windscreen wipers ready to clean your window whether you want it cleaned or not. But we have while I meander and try, see, Land Rovers, before I answer Lady Starfire's question, Land Rovers were designed by short English people, because even if there was a roof here, I would have to duck, and then also the way the covers are, so if I want to see the road properly, I've got to do this. So there we go. I'm going to get crunched down so I can see out, but it's better than being wet. Fortunately, I can see there's no cars. Adrian, any cars behind us?
No cars behind us.
No cars behind us. We're good. So our cam ops work as our rear view mirrors and side mirrors, especially when we're down like this. But Lady Starfire was wondering, where would I like to go on safari anywhere in the world? Oh, that is such a difficult question. There are so many places. I think, I'm going to give a list, not in particular order or list of importance. The Pantanal in South America, in Brazil, for jaguar. Ethiopia, the Bale Mountains for Ethiopian wolf or simian fox. Central African Republic, to explore that area that's on the eastern side of Central African Republic, where the forest meets the savannah, where you have eland, bongo, lion, gorilla and chimpanzee all in the same area. Where else? Oh, there's so many places, but I think those for now. Oh, Yellowstone to go see wolves, or Alaska. So there's many places I'd like to go. Sorry, it's getting a bit difficult to see again. Oh, don't get stuck there. Wait. Okay, while I try and negotiate my way home in the storm, let's go back across to Steve, who's still with the gorgeous Thandi. Hopefully she has some luck this afternoon.
And we've managed to relocate on this beautiful cat. We've come around to pretty much where we were before, and she has got her impala face, and she is enjoying it. Still no sign of the cub. I can just hear the crunching of the bones there. As she lifted her head up, every movement in the bush here gets her attention, even if she's got food. They are specialists, they are opportunists. I quite enjoy these Land Rovers. I think they're made perfectly for an individual of my size. And for the tall people out there, all I can say is shame. I love this vehicle. It's short wheelbase. It's amazing where we can get in and out. So she's busy using that carnassial shear, folks. If you remember my stint in the tent, I was showing you that characteristic of a carnivore, is that carnassial shear, that the side of the teeth where we kind of have our molars. They've got very sharp teeth. You can see how she's using the side of her jaw there to chew on any sinew and bone, and to get all the goodness out of that young impala. When the impala is young, the bones haven't calcified as much as they would from an adult, so it's actually possible for a leopard to eat quite a large proportion of that, and it allows them to get the marrow inside. Obviously the larger bones would be left for the stronger jawed hyenas. There you can see she's switching from one side to the other to get that cutting edge. So there's a question from Lady Starfire. Where would I like to go on safari? I'd love to go to Alaska. I'd love to walk bears. That's something I've always wanted to do. I'd love to go up to Ethiopia, see the Ethiopian wolf. Yellowstone National Park is obviously on the bucket list. I wouldn't mind seeing the massive migrations on the Siberian steppes. Apparently largest movements of antelope in the world up there. That'd be quite something to see. And another place I'd like to go to is Israel, because during the sort of the change of the seasons, apparently 500,000 birds migrate from the north to the south and vice versa, and you can apparently get amazing bird visual up there. So that's something I'd like to do. Millions and millions of birds traveling north and south across that little land bridge from Africa up into Asia. That's a place I'd like to go. I don't know what safaris they offer there, but I'd go there for the birding most definitely. And then finally I'd love to go to India and Sri Lanka. I've actually got friends working both in India and Sri Lanka now, doing tiger walks and trails as well as leopard conservation. So that's somewhere I'll be going, somewhere in the near future. But while we stay here with Thandi and her prize, Noel, I believe, has got one of the feathered kind for you.
Hello, hello. So we've gotten over to the other side of Chitwa Dam Wall, and I believe, I can't remember, but I think earlier I called this a heron. It's not a heron, it's an egret. It was just a slip of a tongue, please excuse me. It should be a great egret, completely yellow beak and then black legs and also black feet. Now, Davi and I have been sitting here in absolute hysterics because he's been busy keeping his head very still and then shaking his body and his back end and vibing hectically. He was doing this for a couple of minutes, and then all of a sudden he grabbed a lizard, a skink, and ate it. It was the most incredible thing. I've never seen an egret do this before. It was, yeah, I have no words. It was hysterical at the same time. But it was amazing how he kept his head and bill so still, and then his neck was sort of swinging like a snake, and then when he turned his body, it looked like he was doing a little bit of a torque action or like a booty shake. It was incredible. Now, I think he was doing this to possibly distract the lizard to looking at that end of his body as opposed to the front end that was actually going to catch it. That would be my guess. But having never seen this type of behavior before, all I can do is pull on other experiences and then say that would be what I would assume. I don't know if anyone else that's out there that's watching has seen something similar. I'm hoping he starts doing it again so you all can see what we saw and also giggle with us. And I think he might have spied something else as he is now standing a little bit still. When I was saying to Davi that Ferg and I were watching him fish a couple of weeks ago here inside the dam, and there he would crinkle up his neck and then turn his head sideways and then spear in. So he obviously has different ways in which he anticipates needing to move himself to be able to get the prey species that he's after. It's very incredible. All right. So as he's decided that he's now going to be a statue of an egret instead of actually doing our fun little booty shake, I think maybe we'll focus on these hippos that are just behind us that are busy popping up into this beautiful, beautiful light. They were doing a bit of territorial marking there and shaking their tails and having some dung come out. Now, males will do that as they walk around at night, at night to mark territory. Females, when they're out and about at night feeding, will just sort of drop their dung as normal. But females and males will both do that territorial shake of the tail with some dung coming out in the water. Some of it is to do with females wanting to attract males, so the males can come up and smell behind and check to see if they're an estrus and do a little bit of Fleming grimace there. Sometimes females will do Fleming grimace to themselves, I'm having issues with my words today, everybody. I'm very sorry. To each other. And that also helps test who's in whose pod and is anybody new and are we still friends. Farah, interesting question. You want to know if crocodiles ever attack hippos? Farah, I've never personally seen a crocodile attack hippo. I've seen crocodiles try to attack hippo, but I haven't seen the actual final catch there. Oh, there's a wonderful little half gape happening there. Specifically with larger crocodiles and smaller hippos. But I do know that it happens from time to time. I've seen hippos killing each other. I've seen female hippos killing other calves from other females, and I've seen males killing calves. I've also seen male hippos fighting on land and killing each other that way as well. It's pretty hectic. No, they're having a nice snooze. You can see those marks on the body of that hippo there just on the right-hand side. Those marks, those scratches are from fighting with other hippos. Now, hippos have jaws that are strong enough to crack a crocodile in half, so that's one of the reasons why I think it's less likely, or it's not something you see as often, crocodile killing hippo, because hippos can be pretty fierce. Ooh, our egret is busy doing his hunting maneuvers again. I'm going to duck my head down so that you can get over there. He's not quite doing his booty shake, but there he's doing it. He's starting to wiggle his neck. You see there? So this is how it started last time. He's wiggling his neck a little bit, and then he got his whole body into it. Let's see if he does it again. Oh, no. I think maybe whatever he saw has gone off. All right, well, Brent is busy battening down the hatches up there in the Masai Mara, and I believe he wants to chat with all of you about a few things. And myself and Davi will carry on and see what else we can find for you that might be new and interesting, like our crazy egret and his little booty shake.
Well, yes, we are sneaking up the hill. The main body of the storm is now coming from behind us, but I can just hear it patting along the canvas next to me. So it's starting to get quite loud inside here, but fortunately the rain is not hitting the windscreen directly anymore, so I don't have to wipe as often. So quite fortunate. Now we had a question from Brent saying, are there any salt licks for the animals? So no man-made or man-put down salt licks, but in the south of the triangle and in sort of the center of the other side of the river, there are natural salt licks. So where there's swamps and rivers where the salts and minerals that are taken out of the earth by the water and brought down, and the elephants actually and buffalo and eland and topi and pretty much everything will go to those areas if they feel they're needing salts and certain minerals, iron and calcium and things like that. And they'll drink the water and even eat the mud from those areas. So yes, there are salt licks, and they're naturally occurring salt licks out here. As you can hear, I'm just going to keep quiet, you can hear it's starting to get quite loud inside our little tent. But fortunately, we're halfway up the hill. Poor Madam McCurdy, she's still down there somewhere, so I think she might be in a little bit, well, hit the hill at a bit of a worse time than we are. But hopefully she gets home nice and safe. I think I can see her lights on the way up the hill in the distance. But we're going to say good night and see you tomorrow. Let's go back to Thandi with Steve.
And Thandi is up again. She was busy feeding on that impala head, and she's now doing her ablutions. Busy cleaning and licking. She's finished, it seems like she's finished that impala head. But we can't really see it, it's just behind that log. She called a few times again. Oh, there's the cub just to the left for you. There it is. Oh my word, it's knocking up on her. That is a leopard stalk. Watch it go. Oh, that is just too cute. And once again she has departed and moved out of our camera shot. That is what she is enjoying doing today. Playing her game of chess with the Land Rovers. She's finished her meet. I don't know if she's going to come back there or if she's going to start moving. She was calling the cub for a little while, and maybe now that it's finally joined her, she's going to move on. So we're going to try and go back in the way we came. See if we can come around again here. And then once we get around, she's probably going to move again. Wonderful. So while we try and reposition ourselves, I believe Noel is still at Chitwa Dam with a crocodile.
So just as we were about to turn around and go, we checked the back side of the island, and here we found one of the two very large crocodiles that is here up on top of the island itself in really beautiful light, so that you can actually see a lot of the intricate details on the body there. So just in the back, we've got Chitwa Lodge. This is the little island, and you can see he actually blends in quite well. I say he, but it could be one of the large females as well. Then as we zoom in, you can check the teeth that are here. Now, one of the ways that I have been told to check the difference between a crocodile and an alligator has to do with those overhanging teeth. Also, we don't get alligators here in sub-Saharan Africa. We just get crocodiles. But for those of you that may live in places with alligators and crocodiles both, which can happen sort of Central America and south of the southern part of North America or southeastern part of North America, the overhanging teeth is a way to tell. And then also the snout. I believe that the crocodile has a more sort of a roundish snout, and the alligator has a pointier snout. Now, of course, when I want to talk about it, it closes its eye. There we go. Oh, I'm so sorry. I think the wind is being extra super windy at the moment, so excuse any audio mishaps that might happen with that. But have a look there at that crocodile's eye. You can see the round eye itself, and then right in the middle there's quite a big slit. Oh, I'm just going to be quiet for the hippos. Hope we managed to hear a little bit of that. Most of your reptile species, so snake species, crocodiles, have eyes like that with a vertical pupil as opposed to a very round pupil. Now, crocodiles are poikilothermic, which is a more exact term than ectothermic. Basically, they use their outside surroundings to warm themselves and or cool themselves. So it's been chillier the past few days, as we know, the drizzle and overcast. And now that this afternoon is nice and warm, not hot, but nice and warm, this crocodile has come out and is busy enjoying this warmth. Now, just to the back side of him, there's a little pied kingfisher that's come up onto that bit of dead log that's hanging off the backside. Oh, wonderful sighting of the tail there. The backside of the crocodile there. We do get pied kingfishers here often, but it's not something that I see daily. It's one of my favorite kingfishers. I enjoy them immensely, and one of the reasons why I enjoy them is that you can actually tell the difference between the male and the female. Now, I'm hoping this one turns around a little bit. The male has sort of a cummerbund pattern on the front, and the female has a bikini top pattern on the front. So this is looking like a female. And then they hover, another reason why I enjoy them so much, is they hover very still over the water, looking for fish, and then will dive down and pick one up, and then come back to their perch and smack that fish to kill it, and then flip it around and eat it. Fantastic. Kevin, interesting question. You want to know if this dam is man-made or it's a natural body of water. Kevin, this dam is both. So there's parts of this dam that are naturally occurring and there's parts that are man-made. So the dam wall that we were on earlier is man-made, for sure. And then this area that would have collected water naturally in general, just maybe not in such a large fashion, maybe a little bit smaller. And then the dam wall helped a bit with that. The dam wall's also put there to allow us access to cross the dam, as the inflow that's towards, there's the dam wall you saw there, and then the inflow that is towards this side here. All of this will stay quite wet, and then when you saw the dam wall, the outflow there, that actually is leading into another drainage system. So it's important to have that dam wall for vehicle access. Great questions. Scarlett, you want to know if crocodiles frequently move to other dams? For sure, Scarlett, they definitely do. Crocodiles will move wherever they feel is the best for them to be. I have a dear friend who does walking trails in the Kruger National Park, which is just to our eastern border here in northeast, and he was 25 kilometers away from water one day and had a crocodile walk past him. So they move wherever they need to be moving. I also, a couple of years ago, was busy tracking leopard with my tracker at the time, and we came across crocodile tracks, and there was a female that was busy aestivating, which is a type of hibernation, busy aestivating inside of a termite mound that was probably about 10 kilometers away from the closest water, and that's where she stayed for the winter time. And so they will move from dam to dam, and then they'll also move away from dams completely, especially during the winter when they regulate their body temperature down extremely low, and they don't really move until it's wet again, until it's warm and wet again. All right, so I think we have done a really nice job here at Chitwa Dam. I think we're going to carry on and see what else we can find. Cape Turtle Dove, you want to know if we've seen any baby crocodiles recently. We were actually chatting about this earlier in the show, and unfortunately I haven't seen those hatchlings at all in the past, I want to say, month. I think that they've moved off a little bit, so no, not recently, but they could have been eaten or they've just moved. I can't say for sure. Okay, we are going to carry on. I'm just going to turn us around and see what else we can find. That crocodile sighting was absolutely fantastic. It's not often that we get it so nice and close that we can see all the tiny details on the scales and around the mouth and in the eye like that. That was really great. Okay, so I've been listening to the radio. The Styx Pride and the Birmingham males, or as the guys say on the radio, the Burmese, just a shortening of the name there, they have moved off over into Little Gowrie, so unfortunately we won't be able to see them again. And then other than that, I haven't heard too much, so I think let's head back over to Steve, who I'm hoping still has a visual of a Thandi, and then we'll see what else we can find to show you.
Yeah, you're back with us, folks, and we've tried to see if we can find her again, but she's hiding in the thickets here. Impossible to see, so no, we do not have a visual. There's another vehicle who's quite interested to come, so what we're going to do is we're going to move out for a little bit, to give some space, maybe go do a few other things, and then maybe when she moves again, maybe we can come back. Okay, that sounds good. Don't see her at the moment. I think she might be going out the other side. I'm going to Famba, just telling the other gentlemen here that I'm going to go, give them some space. There is another vehicle coming. Looks like I'm going to go this way out. Vicky asks, would it be helpful for a cub to have any siblings? And generally there's less, or there's more pressure on the mum when there's more than one. But it also makes the individual a little less shy when there's another one or two to play with. But I don't know whether it helps them or not. But definitely more than one leopard is quite common. I think it's also a bit of a survival strategy. If you have more than one cub, you've got a better chance of keeping at least one of them alive. When you only have one, makes things very difficult. So we're just going to try find our way out of here. So a little bit of a traffic jam coming in there, so forgive me for a moment while I orientate myself. Lovely little drive in the bush this afternoon. Sure you folks are enjoying yourselves. I, myself and VM are having an absolute blast here. Seeing that cub for the first time was on my to-do list. It took me just over a week, but I have seen her, so that is marvelous stuff. And I think we'll get out this way, VM. What do you think? So we're going to go over to Noel quickly, who's got a beautiful bird. We'll be back with you soon.
Alright, as we were leaving the dam, the light's still gorgeous as you can see. We have this beautiful lilac-breasted roller. Now, it's a bird that we do often, but when we can catch the light like this, and you can actually see the colors on this bird, I do like to stop and show it to everybody. So the reason why it's called a lilac-breasted roller is it has a lilac breast. Oh my goodness, it's actually a bird that's named after something that has to do with it. Now, the perch that it's on this acacia tree here is a very good perch, as the flowers are out on the acacia, and so it's going to attract some insects, which means that it doesn't actually have to go too far for its food source. So this bird is going to be looking for beetles, it's going to be looking for butterflies, for daytime moths. Sometimes you'll see them going after ground beetles or termites that might be out in the earlier mornings and cooler afternoons, or ants that are around. But usually what I see them hunting this time of day would be something like a dung beetle or a nice big butterfly. And notice as it's looking around, it's turning its head from side to side to try and catch the angle that it needs to catch to be able to see where its prey is. Richard, you want to know what are those flowers called? I honestly couldn't tell you. As far as I know, they're just acacia flowers. I'm not quite sure if they have a specific name. Actually, there's a specific name for many things out there, so I'm guessing that they do, but I couldn't tell you off the top of their head. It's just the flowers of that acacia tree. Most of the acacias, when they flower, form these little sort of puffball type flowers, so that when they're bumped by browsing animals and or birds that are sitting there, and or insects that are flying past and they go to the next tree, it helps with pollination. Ooh, was that an elephant? Sorry, I thought I heard some branches breaking in the background there, but I think not. And off we go. Oh, are you going to catch it? No, I think not. All right. I think let's carry on. Saying what a colorful, you're very right. Extremely colorful bird. Some birds have sexual dimorphism. There's changes between the male and the All right. So while we're busy trying to find some other things to show you, let's head back over to maybe the visual, maybe is something else that he wants to share with you.
Folks, apologies for whatever gremlins are with Noel this afternoon, but you're back with myself and the wildebeest, and we have left the last position of that beautiful cat. She did disappear. I think we had a really good look at her and the cub, which is quite magical. And wildebeest is quite keen for us to go and see if we can find any other leopards somewhere else. So we're moving on our way along Leopard Alley towards Twin Dams. See if there's any activity. It is actually quite a nice cool afternoon. There might be some other activity moving around, and we could be lucky. I am satisfied for the day. I really am. This morning, you all got to see, if you were watching this morning's show, you got to see a whole lot of leopards, which was fantastic. Coco would like to know my languages that I speak. I am fluent in English, as you can hear. Afrikaans is is sort of a Dutch mixed dialect in South Africa. Sadly, I don't speak it fluently, but I do understand a lot of it, and I can read a lot of it, but my vocabulary is actually pitiful. And then I do communicate a fair bit in Shangaan, which is one of the local dialects, but I would not say I am fluent by any means. By any means, I wish I was better. I spent a little bit of time in Spain, so I learned Spanish for a little bit, and then in Italy, where I learned a little bit of Italian, and then the confusion was then I started mixing those two when I was living in Ireland, and I lost my confidence and stopped speaking both of them altogether. When you speak a sentence half Italian, half Spanish to a Spanish or Italian, they look at you very quizzically, and you don't do it again. So that was the end of that. And then French, I tried to do lessons a few years ago, but it was a very difficult language. Very, very difficult language for me to wrap my mouth around. So that is it for me. There's a beautiful waterbuck male just emerging from wherever he's come from. You can see by the big horns on the head. You see his nose is flaring. He's trying to understand whatever might be coming in front of him. Maybe trying to understand what it is we are. Look at those magnificent horns. His ears moving from side to side. You can imagine what we are looking at now with that leopard. The lines are almost as camouflaged, and if you just go wandering through these thick bushes without any heed of what's around you, you will end up on the menu, and you don't become a big bull like that for not being cautious. So it pays to be cautious. And just before flew over a lifer for me. I just saw this bird fly over. Got it for you on the dashboard. First time seeing this one. The Eurasian golden oriole. It looks just like our local oriole, which has a black head, and the flight pattern, everything is very similar, the way it flies. But I clearly saw that yellow head. It was a very fleeting glimpse, but I'm very, very happy. I hope for some of you that might be a new bird, but we didn't manage to get it on film. I know Tristan told me he saw one a little while ago, which is magnificent. Eurasian golden oriole. Nice to add that to the list. So we're now on Twin Dams Road, heading in a southerly direction towards Twin Dams itself, where I do believe Noelle had Shadow and her cub this morning. You never know what might be seen. It is actually dropped a few degrees. The temperature's dropped quite a bit. And I'm just loving this afternoon. So folks, the viewers, please will you ask us questions. The school drive that was scheduled for about now, I believe, has cancelled due to a snowstorm. So we are terribly sad to hear that, but please send through your questions and comments. For those of you who were watching this morning, don't think I forgot about my magnificent tree wisteria. We are now on the search for that tree, because I did promise you it for this afternoon drive, and we've now taken some respite from Thandi and her beautiful cub to go show you a magnificent tree. I wonder if any of you can remember what it looked like from the pictures, but we will find one. Hopefully talk a little bit more about it when we do. It's a beautiful tree, as the name Speciosa implies. Speciosa meaning beautiful. The Afrikaans name for it is Van Wykshout. And Van Wyk is basically a surname, like mine is Falconbridge. Van Wyk is quite a common Dutch surname, and hout is wood. And it's a highly prized timber for furniture. I know people pay big money for Van Wykshout wood, or tree wisteria wood. And also good for implements such as axe handles. The voortrekkers used it for their ox wagon wheels, and also the yokes that they would put between the oxen to pull the entire cart. So a tree that was quite well used over 200 years ago. And while we continue on in our search for this very static tree, I'm going to be going back down to Chitwa with Noel.
Try resetting.
And you're back with us. Unfortunately, the gremlins are still with Noelle and her communications. We're just coming through the Milwaukee now. I remember seeing a wisteria here yesterday. That was a joke from the wildebeest. And we are on the search. We will find you a beautiful one. Temperatures are marvelous. Compared to 4 or 5 days ago, it's not comparable in any way. We've got the woodland kingfishers calling on the right hand side, a call where we've played for you a number of times.
I am so sorry, everyone. I don't know what's going on with Jigga and myself and Dobby today, but we have gremlins are abounding. But anyway, we're back with our beautiful little bee eater doing his hawking or perch hunting. He is also looking for similar insects to the lilac-breasted roller. Sorry, Spectra, I believe you're asking what are the rules for bird watching. Is that correct there, Bex? Okay, what are the rules for bird watching? All right, Spectra, the rules are you have to like what you're doing. That's the first off. And the second rule, I think, would be to have a good pair of binoculars along with a good bird book. So my binoculars are a little bit sad, unfortunately. They have seen, let me just turn them this way, they have seen better days. This eyepiece was, fell off. And then a good bird book. You need a book that is able to show you, we're not looking at kestrels, by the way, it's just where I opened up to. That is showing the bird as well as showing the distribution on the map side here and giving a little bit of detail. I use Sassel Bird Book. A lot of other people use Newman's Bird Book. Some people use Roberts. That's the ones in southern Africa. It would depend on where you are. I know that my grandfather, where I grew up, my grandfather had near his chair several books of birds. I used to smoke a pipe and stare at birds out the window. Several books of birds for the side of North America up into Canada, and then one for North America in general. And then you have to look at the gist of the bird, so the general indication of size and shape. And you're looking for beak size and shape, and you're looking for the how tall the bird is, how short it is, what the plumage is. Is it flying? Is it a ground bird? If you're seen on a nest, what is the nesting behavior? What is the habitat? That's quite important. So I wouldn't say there's really any rules to birding, but there's definitely some things and some tips that can help you. For me, it's being around other people who really love birding and are able to teach me what they know, and then I learn from them. First Lady, interesting question. Who gives the name to the bird? I would guess an ornithologist that deals with the categorization of the species when it's first found. So basically a scientist, or possibly the person that found it. Couldn't honestly tell you. I know they changed the bird names halfway through, or several years into my guiding career, a couple years in my guiding career, and I don't quite know who exactly decided on that, but it had a lot to do with some DNA testing and movements and those things, so that would have been the scientist, the birding specialist that side. Great questions. Keep them coming, everybody. Okay, we're going to head up Cheetah Cut Line, and we are going to see what we can find along the way. And while we're busy doing that, I think let's go over to Steve, who has finally found his tree wisteria. Well done, Steve-o.
You can get in on the stem as well, eh? And you're back with us. We have solved the mystery of the wisteria. I have a branch in my hand for you, and let me just dangle it like that, because that's kind of how you find them. They dangle, flapping in the wind. It's a nice tall example up behind me there, blowing in the wind, beautiful. And you can imagine this tree with beautiful long purple flowers hanging off. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous tree. And if you zoom in on the bark there, Wilde, you can actually notice how fissured or how deep the grooves are on the bark. Make it quite easy to identify. And the way that the leaves kind of play in the wind there and droop, and they hang, like the one I have in my hand, how it really just hangs in the branch there, dangles. That's a very nice characteristic feature. I'm going to bring it a little bit closer for you. And also we can see how the leaves, this is a leaf here, this entire piece, just break it off you. That entire thing there is actually one leaf made up of a number of leaflets. You can see the leaflets are opposite, and then there's one leaf lit at the end. So that entire thing is a leaf, and the leaves are kind of clustered or whirled on the end of this branch. Baboons and monkeys have been known to feed on the new shoots, but other than that, even if you look at the tree, there doesn't seem to be too much feeding going on it. Obviously the flowers would be quite useful for all sorts of insects, for pollination, but when it comes to feeding, should we have a try? There's nothing really much to it. A little bit bitter, but nothing too much to it. But the characteristic features would be that bark, the very fissured bark, and the way it sort of hangs in the light there. We're finding it now right down in sort of the drainage line, and the book indicates that's quite an obvious place to find it, but we can also expect to find it sort of further up the landscape. I don't know why we couldn't find it this morning. Quite perplexing. And if I put the book on the counter here, you can quite easily see the bark there. Quite a nice characteristic of it. Very attractive tree. And apparently also termite resistant, the wood. And the wood has been used in the past for fence poles. And the medicinal value, you can take some of the roots, you can grind them up and make them into a decoction, and you can drink it for any sort of abdominal pain. It will cause you to vomit, and ideally that will sort out whatever stomach problems you might be having at the time. I haven't tried it before, but maybe one day, if in need, we will do it. Okay, so we found the tree. I am very, very chuffed. Didn't take us long. Took us a lot longer this morning. Now we're going to continue on back the way we were going. Let me just plug myself back in. My apologies. There we go. James asks a question about which tree species has the fewest numbers in this area. That is a very good question, James. I'm new to the Sabi Sands by a week, and I know that the dominant tree species in this area are red bush willows, russet bush willows, leadwoods, knobthorns, guarries, both the guarri species. There's quite an abundance of all of them. The spike thorns are both here. The weeping wattle, which I just brushed my hand against there. I don't know what is few. I haven't seen any umbrella thorns yet. I've seen only a few flaky barks, not too many. But no, I actually don't know. If I had a little bit longer, I'd probably be able to ascertain what is more and less common. But that is a good question. Okay, but maybe we'll go across to my friend Noelle, who's been here a little bit longer than me, and she might be able to know the answer to that. Noelle, let's see what you have for us.
I love how much you guys fiddle when you're on the car.
How much?
How much all the cam ops are always fiddling with stuff and like, we must put things here and then move it over there. It makes me laugh. All right, everybody. I actually think you caught me talking to Davi there. I think that there's something wrong with my comms because I keep getting Bex in my ear going, live! live. So it's not coming through all the way. We had come here for our little moment of silence because this is an epic scene with the way that the clouds are moving in and the sun rays are shining through. So it's not quite a sunset, but it is still beautiful. So I think let's take our moment now. So gorgeous. A little bit of wind blowing in the background, a little bit of hornbills calling in the background. I was hoping that the black-bellied bustard would call again. There was like a pop noise that was happening. Jeremiah, you're saying this is heavenly light. Jeremiah, I fully agree with you. All right, now I believe someone was asking Steve-O about what tree species he would say probably is in the least amount. My guess would be one of the ivory trees. We get both brown ivory and red ivory in this area. We get a little bit more of brown ivory, as far as I know, than red ivory. But you'd be pretty amazed. Just here on Djuma, Vuyatela little area that and Chitwa area that we drive, you could then go over to farther west to Elephant Plains and have a little bit of a different scenario. We were talking this morning, we were actually chatting about not having mapani trees in this area. I'm having mapanis more to our north and eastern side, as far as I understand. So even within a small section, everything changes quite drastically as you move on. I mean, the trees in abundance, of course, are going to be your silver cluster leaves and marula trees and a lot of your Cumbritum species. But if I had to answer that question, choose one, I would definitely say one of the ivory trees. It's not something that you see often, and one of the reasons is because it grows very, very, very slowly. All right, absolutely gorgeous light, of course. And we are now debating what are we going to do. Judy H., good question. You're asking about sausage trees. So when I first moved here, I was like, well, I'm not seeing any sausage trees. What's going on here? So Djuma is not a huge property. It's not tiny, but it's not huge. There's one sausage tree over near Philemon's Dip that doesn't grow sausages. Excuse me. I drink a lot of water before I came on camera now. And that's the only sausage tree I've seen, but I know south of us, north of us, east of us, and west of us, we see more sausage trees. It probably has something to do with elephant populations in the area at some point, although I would be interested to ask James Hendry about it and see what his opinion is. We were chatting a bit with the buffalo feeding patterns of this area that have to do with the winter grazing over the summer grazing. We tend to get the buffalo more for summer grazing rather than winter grazing, which is different in areas that I've worked in before that are just a crow's flight away from here, where you get the opposite effect sometimes and sometimes the same effect. So my personal opinion would be that it has something to do with elephant populations and elephant movement in the area for the sausage trees, as well as the fact that we don't have a lot of larger dry riverbeds. We've got the Milwaukee that comes through and the Mulyonwini, I think if I'm pronouncing correctly. I struggle with that word, but they're not really huge. It's not like the Sand River that comes through to our south here, or say the Klasiri River that's farther up north, or anything like that. So that could also have something to do, because you'll tend to see sausage trees in areas that are slightly a bit more wet, along those river courses, the riparian areas, and then also in areas that lead up to large rivers, like where I worked in South Luangwa National Park. Huge amount of sausage trees, especially up in the north of the park there, but only within sort of a kilometer to maybe a little bit more of the riverbed itself. So that could be the reasons why. And I do miss them. The flowers are beautiful. The fruits are beautiful. But yeah, just that one. All right. So we're going to be staying with me for a little while, because it seems as if the gremlins have left me and have gone over to Steve. So I hope you're all right with that. I'm all right with that. But what we're going to do while you're with me is we're going to carry on down the road here. First, I'm just going to put my jersey on because I'm not cold, because it's not quite as warm of a day as I would have liked, but I'm sorry, the sunshine is too good. Look at the shafts of light coming down. And then I think we're going to try and see just sort of whatever pops up. Now, on drives like this, as you all know, I really enjoy hearing from all of you and chatting with all of you, and I also enjoy, Joy, if you're watching, I know you really like talking about conservation topics and things like that. So send through those questions and comments, hashtag Safari Live on the Twitter or through the YouTube chat. And as we bumble about looking for whatever it is that's going to pop up with us, we can have some nice conversations. I did see that there were some of you that made it to your holiday destinations. Lions were seen in Tembe, and I believe the Kalahari excursion's going quite well. So as you're busy thinking about what you want to discuss with me, it seems as if Steve's gremlins have left him, so let's head on over to him, and we'll see you shortly.
We have found some impala. Here they are. A little bachelor group of male impala. They've come down to Twin Dams, possibly for a drink. You can see this individual, he's got a bit of a blunt right horn. Looks like it's broken off. Probably make it a little bit difficult for him to fight with a horn like that. In nature, when an individual has a weakness of any kind, it could be a broken horn or a gammy leg or anything like that, it's very difficult for them to compete. And I'm not sure if that broken horn there would influence his fighting technique. I once saw a male impala with one horn that seemed to be dominating because the other individuals couldn't actually repel his attack because it was like a sword versus horns. It was just a sharp, piercing sword, and he seemed to be doing quite well. I didn't see him for very much longer after that. But so essentially, when you have a deformity or an illness or weakness that in nature is not perpetuated, it doesn't go forward, generally is lost with the individual. I mean, he'll live his days out to the end, or he'll get eaten by a leopard, but he won't breed. I don't think, anyway. And you can see, even though there's highly large competition between the males for fighting, they still stick together. It's all about the selfish gene. They're not doing it for each other, they're doing it primarily for themselves. A little bit of a face rub. Bit of scent marking, probably. It's a little guarri bush there. Very good indicator of water. And he's disappearing. Here we have one doing his ablutions. All those very fine pellets. Much finer than the wildebeest's pellets we saw this morning on walk. Impala have a much better system for reabsorbing a lot of the moisture in their four-chambered stomach. But not to be left behind, he will follow his friends into the wilderness. Okay, well, we're going to carry on here. We're at Twin Dams, do a little bit of a loop around here. A lot of viewers thinking that I am Tristan's half-brother. Well, I think I'm actually older than Tristan. So, a lot of people think I'm his doppelganger. I'm not sure about that. My mom told me the other day that she switched on the TV and I think she had a look like this of Tristan, and she heard the voice, and then there was one word or something that he said and she would, no, that's not my boy. So it even confused my mother. So I can understand, if you can confuse someone's mom, then it must be quite evident that we do look quite similar. Here's a beautiful Here we have the blacksmith lapwing. There is a juvenile, you can see by the coloration. It's not fully black yet, it's still quite mottled. Following his parents. The viewers are asking, did I know any of the other guides before starting here at Wild Earth? And that is very, very correct. I was actually trained by Stefan back in the day. He was the assistant head ranger when I started at Singita, and he assisted me with my trails guide and with my level 2. So Steph and I go back a long way. Scott Dyson was on the same training course as me. So I don't think I'm as naughty as Scott, but we will see as time goes on. Tristan was also training at the same time, so we met back then. And then Noelle and I crossed paths quite a few times in the past. She got me up for some work in Namibia, which didn't work out too well, and then she did some freelance work with me for eco-training last year. We were training last year, I think, or year before. We were training trails guides up in Botswana. So it is actually quite strange how many people I knew before coming here, and it is a very small world, this industry. Okay, but we're going to continue. We're going to go back towards where we last had Thandi, because I believe the other game viewers are getting bored and leaving. So we're going to go back there and see if we can see what she's up to. I believe she's been moving, and one of the landowners is with her at the moment. So I'm going to speak to him on the radio really quickly, see if there's a space for us there. So if you just give me one moment to... So while we continue back and see if we can get into position with Thandi again, we're going to go back to my friend Noelle, who is bumbling along.
My friend Steve, I hope that you managed to see that cute little cub again, and I'm hoping that maybe I might get my chance tomorrow, depending on how much of the kill is left. We'll have to wait and see. Davi and I are really just bumbling about. There was a cuckoo that I was hoping to get on camera, but of course it flew away, so I'm hoping as we're driving now, because it's that really nice temperature and time of the evening where you start getting the bird activities, we will hopefully be able to get a side of that. Bex, I'm so sorry, I only got half of that from Craig, if you wouldn't mind sending it through again. What is my best area in Djuma? From Craig. My favorite area of Djuma. Ooh, Davi and I were actually talking about this morning. We were talking about a lot of the roads that are along the Mulwati, along the riverbeds there. I very much enjoy that. This isn't on Djuma, but I like Chitwa Dam, especially like tonight when we had that beautiful light. When it's a really, 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 really hot on game drive, I like to just park off at a dam, especially from about 5:30, because I can't tell you how many times I've had Big Five coming down to drink just sitting there at the dam, and you're getting the sunset and the colors coming through, and it's good birding. It's absolutely fantastic. But Craig, it also depends on my mood for the day. So sometimes I'm really in the mood for driving the cut line. Sometimes I'm really in the mood for being in the riverbed. And sometimes I'm in the mood for hopping from Treehouse to Twin Dams to Biffleshoek Dam to Chitwa. So I can't say that there's one particular spot. But yeah, those would be depending on the day. Ooh, Melissa, you're wondering if I have an animal that I would like to see that I have not yet found. So on Djuma, the only individual that I haven't seen that I really want to see would be Tamba, because I haven't seen it. Then on Djuma, so far with Safari Live, I haven't managed to find a camera, up, and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm in the middle of the ocean. I can only see this one other person, and I don't know where anybody else is. So anyway, so I want to go see whale sharks. And then I'd like to get down to, I've lived in South Africa for so long now, but there's a couple places I haven't been to that I'd like to get. So the Namakru area I'd really like to get to. I really want to get to Namakwaland and see the flowers. And then I want to get down to, I was by Hansby doing some treks along the beach there and learned loads from a guy that lived down there, and we learned about plow snails and all sorts of fun things. We watched a seal in the kelp forest jump up with an octopus in his mouth and catch it, but I really want to see the great whites that breach near Seal Island there and catch those seal pups. That's also on my list. And that's just a fraction of my list, hey? And it grows. So I know Brent is talking about the Pantanal. That's off the continent. That's someplace to go. I want to see a kangaroo in the wild. I haven't been to Australia. So hopefully one day. I love questions like this. Where would you all go? So we talk about this sometimes. If you had to see myself and Steve, Tristan and James and Pina and Jamie and Brent and Ralph and someone else in Africa or somewhere else in the world, what would be your top pick? What would be your number one, and maybe what would be your number two pick? We do every single day, interactive, but in a completely different space. Okay, down to the Milwaukee, which you know of, and I think we might go check up and down. I think because our signal is dropping, let's head on over to Steve. Maybe he's gotten back to Thandi, maybe not. We'll have to wait and see.
We are definitely on the way back. The landowner is with her at the moment. She's moved across the road from where she was before into the thickets on the other side. So we don't know what it's going to look like when we get there, but I don't think we're too far away. I unfortunately took the wrong road, so we're trying to catch up again. This way, V. You tell me what you reckon, eh? This way? Yeah. Ingwe Alley. Yeah. We're going to go back exactly the way that we came from. Just when you start thinking you've got the roads down, you take the wrong left and get a bit disorientated. But as the way it works, you start seeing things again. And we did a little bit of a different route here. We actually drove down in the Milwaukee to get to where we were, hence why I was a bit confused at the turn. Just going to have a quick chat with Johan on the radio, folks. Standing by, Johan? 100%, Johan. We are going to be coming on Ingwe Alley shortly. Oh. Okay, Kobit. We'll be getting on that road soon. And we just passed a couple tree wisterias, folks, that if I hadn't have driven in the drainage line before, we would have found. That's the way it works. Once you've found what you're looking for, it suddenly becomes very obvious the ones that you've missed. Tristan would like to know if most of the flower trees bloomed, and a number of them have, and a number of them will bloom later. Yes, knobthorns bloom quite early. It's all about the competition for insects and pollinators. If all your flowers bloom at the same time, then you're getting a lot of... I'm going left here, yeah, Vian? You've got a lot of competition with regards to the pollinators, so you're wasting a lot of energy. So a number of the trees, like the silver cluster leaves, not all of them are flowering at the moment, but some have been. I was talking about that the other day. Very smelly, but there are still some trees that have yet to flower. I mean, the marulas flowered already in October, maybe November. The tambuti will flower at a very different time of year. It's all about that competition. So they don't want to waste their energy flowering. So we're coming into the area. She has crossed the drainage line here somewhere, and I know there's a little pan up ahead that the wildebeest thinks she might be moving towards. Johan, I don't know if you can get my audio. Yeah, affirmative, Johan. I'm on Ingwe Alley mobile in the west direction. So Johan is just on the other side of this drainage line, and she's crossed into this direction. Okay, copy, thank you. So probably about another 150 yards or so. But we don't want to go too fast. Keep our eyes peeled. The wildebeest is scanning. He's got very good eyesight. This is exciting stuff. On the move with her little cub. Oh, there we go. I've relocated. She's on the pan, just where I thought she'd be. Come around. Guys, look at that. That is exquisite. That is exquisite. Look at the colors of that green water. Obviously the cub's not needing to drink a lot because it gets a lot of its moisture from mum's milk. But look at those eyes wide open, interested in absolutely anything. This was worth it, folks. Oh, there she goes. They don't call it Ingwe Alley for nothing. Look at her. Now this is a proper visual. What's she going to do? Is she going to jump on Mum? What are you doing, Mum? So after spending the day in the shade, she's been probably quite hot for quite a long period of the day, and now it's much cooler. Oh, cat's a bit afraid of the water. I've seen a leopard cub jump in the water once before by mistake, and it was the shock of its life. Oh, look at that. Got wet feet. So now Thandi's come out into the open, where it's a lot cooler now, to come and drink. Obviously, if she was desperate for a drink earlier, she would have moved. But after finishing her impala head, yes, I agree with all of you out there. She is adorable. Absolutely adorable, and very interested in what Mum happens to be doing. I don't know. Ooh, I don't know if you heard that little meow. Okay, so her head is just up because the other vehicle, one of the landowners from Buffelshoek who assisted us in the sighting and finding her, is making his way around. And I'm just going to move back slightly. I think maybe maybe you can see her from there. Yeah, he's got her. Look at the cub. The cub is trying to go as flat as can be. It's just going to move back a little bit just to give them some space so that they can also see it. Plenty of room here for us. Thanks, Johan. Yeah, this is the pan we thought she might pop out at. Look at that. Isn't that just adorable? Thandi was definitely very thirsty. Lorena, the comment you make is she's got such big paws. I think you're referring to the cub. Yes, she does. She's going to grow into them. Ooh, yes, Mum. Let me smell what it is you're doing here. Not quite sure. She wants to attach her mouth to it and suck it. She's not sure what the drinking is all about. Everything she knows at the moment is coming from her mother's teat. This is sensational. This is the view we were hoping to get. So our karma is paid off by moving away and giving the other vehicles an opportunity. We have now got this. Big feet but very short legs. Needs to keep up with Mum. Okay, see if we can follow them. She's probably going to go back into the drainage line. This is amazing. I am filled with joy this afternoon. This is what we intended to see this afternoon, and yes, as much as it was amazing seeing her hide in that thick bush earlier, it's nice to see actually out in the open and moving. I can see her there. She's just moving into the bush. The spur fowl are alarming. There's a squirrel calling. And we've got her just moving on the right of us here. There she goes, back into the thickets. These spurfowl believe that they've escaped danger. So folks, we're going to see if we can keep up with her here. It's getting quite thick, but while we do so, we're going to go over to Noelle, see if she's got anything for you for the last few minutes of the show.
All right, I got a little birdie in my ear saying that Brent's brother has seen Tingana moving north from Gowrie, Maine, which is just on our left-hand side. So as you all know, Tingana likes to be a last-minute leopard, and as you all know, we love a last-minute leopard, as you all love a last-minute leopard. So Steve did just have Thandi and the cub, and I believe it was an absolutely exciting, but I think I would like to get a little bit of big male leopard action. See if we pick him up. We were a little bit farther away, and now I'm just busy cruising on the fire break to see if we can catch tracks that are coming across, or possibly catch him moving about. Now, he could have just gone straight north and kept going straight north, or he could go north and then move east. We'll have to wait and see. So I know we only have a few minutes left, but I'm going to do my best. Now and then gets a little bit thick, I'll be standing up back just to give us a little bit more of height. And I'm sorry if you stare at the back of my head every now and then. I do want to make sure that we don't possibly miss him at all. So remember, we've been having that little bit of rain, a little bit of drizzles. A lot of his territory markings are going to have been washed away. So it seems move around, and then some of his other territorial markings, and then is possibly pulling back into Djuma to be able to do that, do it on this side as well. Now, I heard an update that all of you saw Mvula while I was away on leave. I'd be curious to know where you saw him, because he is my favorite male leopard in this whole territory. I do have a soft spot for Tingana, since he's not my nemesis leopard anymore. And Hosanna is beautiful. Tumba, I can't comment on because I haven't seen him, but Mvula is my absolute favorite. So I'd like to know maybe where that was, because if I could see him, I would be a super happy chappy. All right. Now, if I was Tingana, what I would do would be to move in and then come down and then zigzag through my territory. But I'm, just guessing there and seeing. And I'm going to just go to areas where I've seen him before, because that usually means that's where he'll be, because he is busy marking his territory. I don't have any tracks as of yet. And no bird alarm calling that I can hear as of yet. And no Tingana as of yet. Oh, I do believe one of you sent through a comment that said that you would like to see us in Siberia and Tasmania. We were chatting about that, and then Davi says to me, but what would we see in Tasmania? And I believe Tasmanian devils are extinct, as far as I know, if I'm remembering correctly there. And then I was talking about how in Australia I'd really want to see a kangaroo. And then I was reminded, I have a friend from Australia named Steve. We did conservation work together on another property doing grass surveys and things like that. And he had me utterly convinced of a thing called a drop bear. Okay, so now we had some apple juice, and we're talking about how I want to go and I want to see kangaroos and I want to see koalas in the wild. And he was like, well, Noelle, if you want to see a koala, surely you want to see a drop bear. And I'm going, but what is a drop bear and why have I never heard of this? He goes, it's a carnivorous koala bear. I said, I could not have not heard of this. Not that I know everything, but I mean, surely I would have heard of this carnivorous koala. And he went on and on. He had me utterly convinced that there is this carnivorous koala called a drop bear, until he told me that what you have to do is you have to be very careful when you're walking around, especially with big trees. You have to walk with your hands like this in case the drop bear drops on you and then you put him off. And I started looking at him going, surely that could not be a real thing. And then he just busted out laughing. So he had me going for a while. There is no such thing as a drop bear. Sorry, Steve, I'm giving it away. Not our Steve here, different Steve. Okay, still nothing yet on, I think we're calling him the Duke. And no tracks that I can see yet. We'll just go down maybe a little bit farther. There's a big torchwood tree that we'll be able to see, and then maybe we'll pick him up from there. Is it the Tasmanian tiger that's extinct, not the Tasmanian devil? Thanks, guys. Thank you for helping me out with that one. Does anyone maybe perhaps have a photo of a Tasmanian devil that they want to post up on one of the social platforms you're on? You guys do the best GIFs, GIFF. Okay, so now we only have about a minute left, so I'm really hoping that Tingana decides to pop up for this last minute. It may or may not happen. We'll just have to check. Currently, we've got a whole lot of hippo tracks, but nothing really with this male leopard at all, unfortunately. So I think we're going to have to wait until tomorrow morning before we manage to get Tingana on screen. So I think we're going to end with this beautiful little silhouette of a fork-tailed drongo who loves to do mimicry of other birds, especially before he goes to sleep, just to make sure they all know this is his area. So thank you all very much from myself and Davi and Steve and Vildi, everyone in the Mara, everyone in FC. You must have a wonderful evening, and we will see you all tomorrow morning, 5 o'clock our time.